Oh boy, we got Fed news today. We'll talk about that. We have Jim Jordan here. He's going to talk about this indictment and other things going on in Congress, culture war stuff. Kira Davis is here. Ned Ryan is going to talk to us about local elections. All that and more is coming up on I'm Right. Okay, first, before we do anything else, I have some news. I know you watch us. Maybe you watch us on DirecTV. Well, we're on channel 347 now on DirecTV. So if you go tuning in on your DirecTV dial and you don't see the first TV, don't worry. I promise we didn't vanish. We didn't disappear into the ether somewhere. You're just on the wrong channel. Channel 347, DirecTV, that is where you'll find us. Now, let's get on to all the news of the day. The Federal Reserve. This is, look, with everything else, we're going to go into all kinds of culture war stuff and really important things on the show. We got Congressman Jim Jordan coming up here in just a second, but this is probably the thing that matters the most right now, because if a nation goes through some sort of horrible, I don't want to call it collapse, but maybe that's appropriate, recession, depression, whatever it is, everything else will flow downhill from there. We've spent way too much money. We've printed way too much money. That toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube. The only way to stop that inflation is to raise interest rates. Raising interest rates itself will cause a recession. High interest rates are horrible. I'm not hoping for that, but we needed the Fed to raise rates, probably significantly. The Fed was planning on raising rates significantly, according to what we know. Then a couple banks went belly up. They all locked shields and said, don't raise rates, we're in trouble. Today, the Fed announced tiny little rate bump, smallest bump you can get, 0.25. Now, I'm not sitting here wanting your interest rates to go up or my interest rates to go up. I got a mortgage too. I don't want rates to go up. But I also understand that the value of the dollar free falling has implications way beyond some interest rate hikes. It's a really, really, really big deal. And if the banks are going to bully the Fed into not raising interest rates the appropriate amount, we might have some rocky times ahead. But anyway, let's focus on what's important. According to MSNBC, the walls are closing in.
I think it's different when you get in there and you're having, I could be wrong, but
you know,
I wouldn't know, but having your fingerprint taken and your picture taken.
You know what we call that, Mika?
What?
That's called whistling past the graveyard. He's not looking forward to any of it. He's horrified. He's just talking big. The walls are closing in, as has been said before.
Oh gosh, more walls are closing in crap. Joining me now, by the grace of God, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We actually have a good one, Congressman Jim Jordan of the great state of Ohio. All right, Congressman, I don't know what I find to be more laughable. The more walls are closing in talk on what's clearly a bogus charge, or the fact that MSNBC apparently has 95 people on panels. Who could do TV like that?
Well, yeah, and they've only been saying the, quote, walls were closing in on I don't know how many different issues. You know, first it was Russia, then it was his phone call with Zelensky, then it was his tax returns, then it was his business records, then it was his children, then it was who knows what else, and now it's this crazy issue. So, yeah, the left has been saying this or trying this and saying this for 7 years, I guess. But I think, your viewers and the American people, I think they get the facts here that, first of all, the Justice Department wouldn't bring this case. The Federal District of New York wouldn't bring this case. The previous district attorney, Mr. Vance, wouldn't bring this case. And the current district attorney wouldn't bring this case a year ago. And it wasn't until two of his folks left the DA's office, wrote a book, started getting the left all fired up, and maybe most importantly, President Trump announced he was running for president, that suddenly, oh, Shazam, I've reconsidered. I'm going to bring the case, it looks like now. So, by the way, our star witness is going to be the guy who went to prison for lying, who came in front of the House Oversight Committee 4 years ago and lied 6 times, Michael Cohen. Such a deal.
Yeah, what a great guy Michael Cohen is. Okay, so everyone knows, look, it's obvious. Everyone knows it's a political prosecution by one of these Soros-backed nutball prosecutors. Yep. The question is, Congressman, how do we stop this? Because people are mad about Alvin Bragg. I've made the point, when you look at the state of our law schools, there are tons of Alvin Braggs graduating every year now heading into the legal profession, and they don't care about the Constitution or the law or right or wrong. They're going there for a purpose, and that's to attack people like you and me.
Yep. Yeah, they're going there to attack the First Amendment, to attack their political opposition, to advance their political agenda. And the only way, in my judgment, the only way to really get at this from Congress is to stop the money flowing to these agencies that do this sort of thing. So this is what we're trying to do with a number of investigations we're involved in, is get the facts on the table, because that's always step one. What all happened? Let's get all the facts on the table. Let's propose legislation to remedy that situation. And maybe most importantly, let's not fund these agencies that are doing these harmful things, or let's limit the money that says you can't use money for X, Y, and Z. You can't use money to stop misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, all these attacks on the First Amendment. Ultimately, you have to attack via the appropriations process. You have to use the power of the purse.
The weaponization of the federal government is, look, in my mind, it's priority one. Everyone has their own priorities, but we don't have a country if this continues this way with American citizens being attacked. The most stark example of this was Merrick Garland taking a letter from a teachers union and then sicking the FBI on parents. Judiciary just put out a little memo about the basis for that. Was that legit?
No, it was all manufactured. You got Democrat U.S. attorneys saying this looks manufactured. When I talk to local law enforcement, they're all scratching their heads like, why are you guys involved? Why is the federal government involved? If there's some kind of incident, local law enforcement can handle it. So this was a completely manufactured incident. The Democrats told us, they're not going to use counterterrorism measures. Yes, they did. They did so in Georgia. The Democrats said, there was no real coordination between the school boards groups and the Biden administration before the initial letter on September 29th, 2021. Yes, there was. And then, of course, the Democrats said, these threats are everywhere, all over the country. Well, they weren't. There were 25 parents who ultimately got investigated. Only one resulted in a full investigation, and no one has been charged under this apparatus, this protocol, this procedure that Merrick Garland set up. And again, the Biden administration was working with the school board groups prior to the initial letter. They created the predicate all for political reasons. And that's what our report shows clearly, what they were up to.
What can we do about that? What should we do about that? The AG is the top law enforcement officer in the country. That's a fairly critical position. If this is a human being who's either too weak or biased or just flat out stupid, I doubt he's a stupid person, but for whatever reason, if he's using that post to attack Republicans, how do we stop that?
You got to get a new president. I mean, look, we're gonna do what I just described. Facts on the table, pass legislation, do what we can in the appropriations process. But at some point, you have to have the power of the chief executive of the country, the presidency, who will name the new attorney general so that you can clean up this kind of thing. Because remember what we've learned now, they not only targeted parents, they targeted pro-lifers, and they targeted traditional Catholics. We have the memorandum issued from the Richmond field office where it said, if you're a traditional Catholic, we're going to treat you as a domestic extremist. I mean, this is crazy. And it goes back to this whole mantra that the left has that was, I think, actually, you saw it clearly when Joe Biden stood in front of Independence Hall and called half the country fascists and extremists. It's crazy. But the attack on people of a different political persuasion and then the attack on the First Amendment is, as you said, Jesse, one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
Before I let you go, okay, Fed raised rates today a little. Congressman, it makes me nervous that it was only a little. Doesn't it have to be more? I don't want interest rates going up, obviously, but hyperinflation is the kind of thing that ends nations. Do the banks really, did they intimidate the Fed into backing off things they should be doing?
Well, it kind of appears like that's what happened. But I would even say this, the spending has got to stop. Because understand what created the inflation, which then caused the Fed to go with the interest rates hike, was the ridiculous levels of spending we've seen in the last 26 months from this administration. So that, to me, is the real problem. That's why this debt ceiling debate and the appropriations process coming up here the next few months is so darn important.
Congressman, appreciate you. Go get them.
All right. Thanks, Jesse. Take care.
All right. Looks like Heavy D is apparently done with the whole acting like he's not running for office thing. He's out there doing sit-down interviews. You play a little bit of that, talk to Ned Ryan about it. But before we get to that, I want to get to this. You know what the bone frog is? Why do you ever seen a Navy SEAL that had one of those tattoos with the bone frog on it? You ever wonder what is that? It's weird. Well, for them, for us as a nation, that's a symbol of the fallen, the Navy SEALs who gave it all. That's why a Navy SEAL started Bone Frog Coffee. It's a lot more than just good coffee, and it is the best friggin' coffee. It's a way to honor the fallen. I like having 2 cups of coffee every single day, and I am pretty pleased with the knowledge that my Bone Frog Coffee subscription, 10% go to various Navy SEAL foundations. Feels good to get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee and honor the fallen. 10% off subscriptions for this stuff, and I highly recommend it. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com. Promo code Jesse is what gets you 10% off the subscriptions, all right? Bonefrogcoffee.com, promo code Jesse. We'll be back.
You think you could beat Biden?
I think so.
So you're running then?
No, I didn't say that. I just said I think I could. I mean, I think that's. I mean, if you look at Florida,
Who would be harder to beat, Biden or Donald Trump?
I don't know. Those are 2 different jobs.
Which is your favorite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ron DeSanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't.
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't. I don't know how to spell DeSanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we'd go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner, because that's what we've been able to do in Florida, is put a lot of points on the board and really take the state to the next level.
Ron DeSantis, very clearly running for office. Joining me now, Ned Ryan, my buddy, CEO of American Majority, which is an outstanding group out there. Ned, all right, well, it's very obvious at this point in time, Ron DeSantis is running. Trump wants him to officially announce for obvious reasons. DeSantis doesn't want to officially announce for obvious reasons. I think they both want the same thing for the right reasons. Trump wants him in so we can smear him. DeSantis doesn't want to get in so he can stay above it all. It's really obvious what's happening right now. I just don't see that it's that big of a mystery.
It's really not, Jesse. At some point, both will be officially declared candidates for the 2024 nomination for the GOP. It will be between Trump and DeSantis. The rest that are running or thinking of running are essentially political pygmies. And it will be either Trump or DeSantis that will win the nomination for 2024 to be our nominee against whoever Democrats put up. I don't know if Biden's going to run or if they're going to have Kamala or little Pete. But I have to tell you, Jesse, I just don't care who our nominee is. Quite frankly, I don't even care who the Democrat nominee is. Because if we don't figure out how to actually do a ballot out, ballot in machine, all we're doing is having great theoretical conversations about who might be a candidate and some issues, but we're not talking about really winning politically. And unless we actually focus on some of these fundamentals that we have completely abandoned, it doesn't matter who our nominee is in 2024. I think we'll lose the White House if we don't figure out some of these fundamentals.
I'm glad you said it, Ned. It's disheartening. You just said this to me on the same day. I just had this conversation with someone else an hour ago. We were on the phone and we were talking about Trump, DeSantis, who's going to win and all these other things. And we said, well, what does any of this matter? Because how are we going to win Pennsylvania? I want someone to explain to me how we're going to win Pennsylvania. And if we don't win Pennsylvania, I would love someone to point to the electoral map and show me how we have a prayer on sweeping everything we need to sweep. We talk a lot about Trump and Heavy D, and I'm just as guilty as anyone else.
Right.
If Pennsylvania can't be won, we're in deep, deep trouble.
Well, we're in deep trouble if we don't figure out how to do robust absentee ballot chase in Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina. It's something that was abysmal in 2022, Jesse. We can talk about 2020 being rigged, manipulated, all that. 2022 was a failure of Republicans outside of Florida to actually do something that was effective in being able to win in Arizona. Just to highlight it, Jesse, how bad it was. Arizona had over 1 million Republican absentee ballots requested. Only about 65% of those were returned. You want to look for at least 80%. There are 150,000 votes that didn't show up, and we ended up losing every statewide seat, and some of them very closely.
Ooh.
So the question becomes, are we actually going to focus on putting these machines in place in these key presidential battleground states before 2024? And if we don't, we aren't going to win, because this is what Democrats are doing right now, and they are spending I heard upwards of 20 or 30 million was spent in Arizona alone on absentee ballot chase by Democrats.
Okay, Ned, I'm going to ask a question, and I'm so scared of the answer. Are we doing any of this right now? Are we at least beginning? Is this process underway or not?
Let's put it this way, Jesse. I am, along with others, putting in place plans because I'm assuming that the RNC under Ron or Romney McDaniel will completely fail again. I'm assuming most state GOPs in these presidential battlegrounds will not have the funding or the wherewithal to do it. There are plans in place where we are going to take a run at funding probably 5 to 6 key states absentee ballot chase programs, regardless of what the party does, regardless of what the presidentials do. I will say this, Jesse, if we're speaking about how you put together a great absentee ballot chase program, the one that has done it and done it very well for cycle after cycle has been Florida. So if you were to say, who do I think could actually implement a nationwide or a battleground absentee ballot chase program because he's done it so well in Florida? It'd be Ron DeSantis.
Okay, what do we make of Ron DeSantis's chances in the primary? Now, I don't believe anybody's primary poll numbers out there. Everyone puts out ones that lie and make them look good. I know the game. I get how it works. I'm of the opinion, though, that if the election was held today, Trump would win. And if he gets indicted, which I know that was delayed, I think those chances only go up, not down. Yes. Can DeSantis even take down Trump?
I think that's a really good question, Jesse. I totally agree with you on both points. If today Trump wins, if he gets indicted, arrested, only adds points to his lead in the primary. I think it's going to be a battle royale. I would not underestimate Ron DeSantis. At the same time, Trump is a force of nature. Trump is beloved by the grassroots. He has a massive, vociferous following in the Republican base. And Ron DeSantis is one of our most popular governors. I think there's still question marks about some of his foreign policy. I was very encouraged to see his statements on Ukraine. I'm still concerned about some of his trade policy ideas. So a lot of this is still obviously theoretical until they both become officially declared candidates. But the good news is, and Jesse, this is the part that I tell people, the good news is an America First candidate will actually be our nominee in 2024. So that's check that box. And then we've got to figure out how we actually put in place this absentee ballot chase program. But be encouraged, we're going to have a good nominee, whoever, if it's Trump or DeSantis, and then we've got to figure out the functional part of how we actually get to 270 electoral votes and win the White House.
All right, let's set that aside for a moment. Let's talk about American majority. Yeah. I love local politics. Well, I that's not true. Everyone loves national politics. I believe local politics are how we'll save this nation. Ron DeSantis, yes. Donald Trump, neither of them are going to save the country. The country will be saved at a local level. People like hearing that. It gives them hope, but they don't know where to go from there. Ned, they don't know what to do. Okay, I'm all game for local elections. What do I do? People don't know what to do. What do they do?
Well, they go to AmericanMajority.org for starters, Jesse. We've been doing this for 15 years, really swiping a page from the left's playbook, in which 15 years ago, we decided we were going to put together an organization that's going to identify and train people to run for school board all the way up to state senate. And I'm a big believer, Jesse, that politics is policy. It's great to have, great policy ideas. I think we've got some of the best as conservatives, but unless you win politically, all you're doing is having great conversations about great ideas. So we teach a lot of nuts and bolts. How do you put together a campaign plan? How do you fundraise? How do you put together get out the vote? How do you message? For the activists, it's more of how do you get out the vote, social media, all these things. We're also rolling out, just so you know, as part of our new curriculum in 2023, how do you put together an absentee ballot chase program, whether you're a candidate or an activist? So a lot of what we do and have been doing for 15 years is equipping people with the nuts and bolts of, here's how you actually go and run for office in a metric-driven, goal-driven way to give yourself the best chance to actually win, whether it's for school board or city council or county commission or the state legislature.
Ned, give someone one piece of advice. I know you do this for a living. I know there are many pieces of advice you could give, but right now there's some parents who's going to run for school board. They want to run for city council. They want to get involved. They're scared. They don't know what they're doing. Give them one piece of advice.
Take the time to think through and do your research and understand what it actually takes to run for office. What does the district look like? How many votes will it take? Where are you starting from? What's your message? put all those pieces together and don't just jump into it and figure it out. If you take a couple days, maybe a couple weeks to really think through some of the fundamentals, which of course we highlighted American Majority, it'll make the approach and your run much better. But I will say this, Jesse, the thing that I would tell people listening, it's incumbent upon everybody to actually do something. The Republic is at stake, and whether it's you helping somebody run for school board or running for school board or running for city council or county commission or the state legislature, I think we all have to elevate our game and our involvement in every sphere of influence that we have in the moment, because if we don't do something and do it quickly, I do not like what our future looks like if we continue to see the left continue its march and not see more losses. We have to actually meet them on the political battlefield at all places and beat them. And if we don't beat them, we're going to regret it.
That's a fact. Ned, keep doing it, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right. We have a This Week in Wokeism next, and it's a friggin' doozy. You know what else is a doozy? Our banking system right now. That's not good. So we started out with Silicon Valley Bank, and there was another bank. Now it's the mid-sized banks. Are you starting to pay attention to what's happening to our financial system? You understand the fundamentals right now are actually worse by every metric than they were right before the Great Recession of 2008. You realize that? It's coming. There's probably nothing that can stop it. It's coming. Already another rate hike today. Have you gotten a hold of Oxford Gold Group yet? Come on now. You worked hard for that money. You worked hard for your money. You earned it. You're going to let these people and their stupid decision-making take it from you? Get some gold and silver in your IRA and 401k. Fortify it. It's a portfolio protection plan. Get real gold and or silver coins in your physical possession as well. You'll always have worth with that, always. They can't take that away from you. 833-995-GOLD. Tell Oxford Jesse told you to call. 833-995-GOLD. We'll be back. All right, it's time to lighten the mood. And what brings more joy than getting out of schoolwork? You know what? Before we get to that, let's get to this. Maybe dogs bring more joy. I don't know why either. I don't know why. I don't know why when I come home, that big fluffy idiot dog of mine charging me to greet me home, I don't know why it puts a smile on my face, but it does. I know your dog's the same way. I want my dog Fred to stay around for a long time. And not only do I want him staying around, I want him healthy. I want him to have a healthy gut, healthy joints. I know what happens to dogs' joints as they get older. I want him to have a good energy level, not hyperactive, not too lethargic. I give Fred Rough Greens because I want Fred to stay around longer. I don't want to lose it. Rough Greens is it's a supplement you pour on your dog's food because the dog's food has no nutritional value at all. There's no nutrients in it. You want your dog to have omega oils, digestive enzymes, probiotics, vitamins, minerals. You got to give them Rough Greens, man. You will see a difference in your dog. And they're giving out a free Jumpstart trial bag. roughgreens.com/Jesse, all right? roughgreens.com/Jesse. Go get your free bag. Now, to lighten the mood, let's go to the kiddos.
Harley, it's up to you. All right, parents, we made a bet. If Harley gets this right, then we can have free time. If she don't, then we still working. Harley, what answer did you write down? Now, mind you, parents, these are tears of joy.
That's as good as it gets. I'll see you tomorrow.